What's up, guys? I'm Videobob. I'm back here at my shop in Dallas, Texas, and I haven't done an update on my ambulance car hauler camper in a while. It is August here in Texas. I drive this thing back and forth from Dallas, Texas to Las Vegas, and I usually have to stop somewhere in the middle and sleep. And it is always either very hot or very cold. So I needed to figure out how to make this thing run off grid, and we're going to talk about how we did that today. All right, we're not going to get into a political debate, okay, about the price of gas. Back when I bought this thing, when I could buy diesel for about $2 a gallon, you could let this thing idle and it would use about a gallon an hour. So if I stopped for, let's say, 10 hours and I used, 20 gallons worth of gas, well, it was still cheaper than a hotel room, but it's not good on the engine to let it idle. I didn't want to have to use a generator. So in this new world, I was paying $5, $6, $7 for a gallon of diesel. I had to come up with another solution of how to run this thing. And that solution was simply batteries. Let me show you what I've got in here. This will blow your mind. Okay, what you're looking at in here are four 200 amp LifePo, which are lithium iron phosphate batteries. You can get these off of eBay for about 650 bucks a pop, and they seem to work really well because I've bought about a dozen of them and used them in a lot of projects, and they're working great. Now up here, what you can't see very well is my Xantrex Freedom 3000. This is a 3,000 watt inverter, but it's also a charger. It will charge these batteries and it will AC pass through. So up here where I have this AC cord plugged in, it automatically passes the AC through to the internal hookups inside there while simultaneously charging these batteries. But another trick I have is, I don't know if you can see it in here, but I have a switch, a battery switch in here that I can turn, and that allows the truck alternator and batteries to charge these batteries while I'm going down the road. So basically, I can stop and sleep for 12 hours with the air conditioning and the fridge and the microwave and the TV on. And this is enough power to run it for, I don't know how long, because I've never run it out of battery yet. But I don't need solar panels because the truck is charging while I'm driving, which is typically 8-10 hours on a leg. And then when I get where I'm going, I plug it in. So I don't really need off-grid solar panels, but that's something that I could definitely add. I could put about 1,500 watts of solar on top of here, and it would run this whole thing while it's just sitting in the sun. So this AC plug here, which is pretty heavy duty, keeps everything running. Let's go inside and I'll show you what it is running. Actually, before I go inside, let me show you what's outside here, and I'll show you what's going on. Okay, my cooling is coming from a small 110 mini split, which is behind this door blowing through this vent. This vent I picked up at Lowe's for like 20 bucks. It's like a gable vent. Cut a hole in the door, and inside here, there's the outside unit of the mini split. Doesn't make any noise. You can't hear it running, and quite frankly, it doesn't need a lot of airflow. What we did was, behind it in the floor, we cut a rectangular hole about 6 inches by about that long, so it sucks the cool, fresh air from underneath the van up into the box and then blows the exhaust out that vent. Now, if I'm gonna be stopped and it's super duper hot, I can leave this door open and let this thing breathe. But so far, it hasn't been necessary. It seems to do perfectly fine just like this. There's not a lot of airflow coming out of there. It doesn't need a lot because it doesn't take much to cool this thing off. Let's go inside and I'll show you what we're cooling. All right, let's step inside my office. You're greeted by my electric step. And oh my God, it is freezing in here. All right. Ooh, it is nice and cold in here. So when I'm driving down the road, the built-in truck air conditioner keeps it cool. So this is the built-in truck operated air conditioning that cools the ambulance as it normally would. We haven't done a lot of modifications in here to make it livable. All we did was make this bench seat wider so it can accommodate this small bunk mattress that I sleep in and don't make the bed. And then over here to the side, we put in a fridge and a microwave and put a little table in and a few things. But really, as an ambulance, it kind of has everything you need. This is the larger version. This is a 2010 Horton. And as you can see, I'm 6'2", so there's lots of room in here. All right, let's show you the air conditioner. All right, I know the bed's not made. Shut up. Okay. Ooh, this feels good. So this is the inside unit of this mini split. Mounted above the door perfectly. There's plenty of room for it to get air. Plus, this thing is a heat pump. So not only does it put out ice cold air, but it puts out nice warm air. And what I like about it is it has what they call a sleep mode, where you can't, I'm standing right next to it. Other than a little bit of airflow, you cannot hear this thing running. You can't hear the other thing running. It doesn't make a bunch of noise like a rooftop unit, and it barely pulls any power. You know, right now it's over 100 something degrees. This August, Texas, Dallas day, it is hot. I am soaking wet, as you can see, just from standing outside filming this. And it is ice cold in here, and this thing is just barely running. I don't know how long it'll run on those 4 batteries because I've never run it down. I typically stop about midnight when I'm tired of driving, sometimes a little earlier. And then I stop for about 12 straight hours. And in that 12 hours, I like to chill. You know, you get undressed, you microwave some food, right? Yeah, I got the fridge here, put some little latches on there, and I keep, look at this, I got, living it up, bro. I got Ben & Jerry's ice cream in there. Got fruit and all kinds of goodies, right? Could toss a Hot Pocket or a TV dinner off in this microwave. So on that batteries, the fridge is always on. I can use the microwave for 10 minutes at a time. I got this little small TV. It only probably pulls 10 or 20 watts. Watch Netflix, but I power by my iPad. I use my iPad as a hotspot because I have a Verizon account, and it's a, you know, it's a SIM card iPad. And I use the iPad because the iPads have a little bit stronger signal than just your phone. And sometimes you're on your phone and you don't want to, you know, consume that. And I just find it's the most reasonable way to get a hotspot because you also have a wireless iPad and not just some little cube that's a hotspot. So you're getting 2 for 1 in my opinion. And it only costs like, I don't know, it's like 25 or 30 bucks a month. I don't know, it's not a lot. But anyway, that's how I watch TV, Netflix, streaming, YouTube and things via the iPad. And I leave this air conditioner on, and when I'm driving down the road, the truck is charging the batteries. When I'm stopped where I get home or to my shop or wherever I'm going, I plug in. That charges the batteries. So in this situation, as far as off-grid goes, I don't need solar panels. I don't live in this thing. I only need to sleep in it overnight while I'm on a long trip. So like, for instance, tomorrow I got to drive to like Mississippi 600 miles to load up a car. And I'm going to go there, and then I don't want to drive back, right? And I don't want to get a hotel room, so I'll just pull up at a truck stop or Walmart somewhere, turn this air conditioner on, I'll lay in bed and eat ice cream and watch TV, and then I'll get up refreshed in the morning. And the only thing I don't have in here is a bathroom, which is going to go in here. We're cutting a hole into this cabinet here, which is big enough to sit down in. I'm putting a toilet. Underneath the floor, we'll have a the black tank. Under the bed here is going to be the water tank. The water tank and the pump is already there. We just need to plumb it so that this sink is plumbed, that the toilet is plumbed. And once I have that, I'll no longer have to use public restrooms, and that'll be fantastic. So this thing is coming along nicely. And so you want to know, how much did all this cost, right? Well, let's talk about it. It's 98 degrees outside, and it says it's 84 right in this spot, but it feels much cooler than that. This is the remote that controls that thing. Now I've got it on the lowest setting. Let's put it on the highest setting, which is called turbo. And I'll crank it down to 72 degrees. Let's see how loud it gets. See if you can even hear it. Okay. This is the controller that goes to that Xantrex Freedom, and I haven't mounted it yet. It needs to go on the wall. It says we're float charging, and let me pull up. Let's see. It says we're pulling, well, it says input 9 amps, load 8 amps, 116 volts. Give me a second. Let's see. It should show me how many watts I'm using. It just says battery float. I don't know if I'm reading this correctly. 13 volts, battery amps. Oh, I'm plugged in. That's right. I'm plugged in. So it's not going to show me. All right. Here in a second, we'll go unplug it and we'll see what the battery's pulling. Okay. Anyway, how much did it cost? Okay, those batteries were like $6.50 a piece. There's 4 of those. I bought the Xantrex unit used, and it was like 600 bucks. And then I think this air conditioner was like 600 bucks. So I've got less than 4,000 bucks in the whole system. That's a lot of money. But considering buying a generator or whatever, like if you do the math on how much how long it would take you to use up that much either gasoline or diesel, you know, it's probably about a month's worth of use. But these batteries can be charged thousands of times. And then, of course, the equipment costs money. You would have had to buy the air conditioner regardless. And I can run on battery for a very long time. So, speaking of which, I'm going to go outside and unplug from the wall so that we're running on the inverter. And I want to see how much power that thing pulls on full blast. Be right back. Let me go unplug it. Did it even blink when I unplugged it? Because we are now running on full battery power. It says load 82 watts. No way. Can't be. It's putting out 121 volts at 60 hertz. We know what that. We already know that. There's a bunch of other settings you can do here. Batteries are at 13.2 volts. It says we're using 82 watts. So that air conditioner in standby mode, let me just crank it down. Let me send the temp to the bottom, you know, send it to like 60 degrees. So you can set the farthest down you can go is 61. And I'm going to put the fan on turbo. And let's see. That's as far as it'll go. Come on, crank up. It is so quiet, this air conditioner. So the fridge and whatever's plugged in here, phone charger, whatever, and that thing, it's on standby. It's like 80 watts. That's why you can run it all night long, because it's just barely the little fan running. Once it kicks into full blast, which I don't know if it's going to, because it's already pretty cold in here. It says it's 85, but that's 85 where that little thing is. So it usually takes a few minutes for it to kick on. I want to see what it does. And anyway, so like I said, I've got $4,000 in the air conditioning and battery inverter system, which comes in handy no matter what, because these trucks generally come with a 1,000-watt inverter built in. Most all ambulances have that, because they don't need to pull a lot of electrical power. And they're just running off of the regular truck battery. Matter of fact, these lights are going to go off in a few minutes because they're on a 15-minute timer. So this module will automatically cut off. I don't know why it's not pulling more power. I guess it just doesn't need to. Let me see if I could turn like the little swing on. Swing mode, swing mode. It's on air conditioning. Now, yeah, that added a watt. All right, now it's kicking up to 97 watts. Let's see, 150. There we go. Now it's firing up. 260, 376. So here's the other thing about these that's different than like rooftop air conditioners, that they have a slow start. You'll notice you don't hear that noise from the compressor. They have a real slow, soft, ramping start, so they don't put a strain on your electrical system. And really, I feel like we're up to 550 watts now. It's nothing. I mean, when it gets cranking full blast, I think it runs about 1,200 watts. So it uses less power than a hairdryer. So here it is. It's kicking up to 540 watts now. Perfect. Okay. Still not that much. I don't even really need a 3,000 watt inverter, but I wanted to be able to have the ability to run the air conditioner full blast and be cooking. If I want a microwave, I actually have a toaster oven. That toaster oven pulls like 1,700 watts. So that pulls a lot of power. But this is also a heat pump heater. So for instance, in a couple of months when I'm traveling back and forth and I stop in, let's say, Flagstaff or Albuquerque, when it's 16 degrees, this thing will also keep you nice and warm. One of the other things I learned about the Coach Air is it's not really regulated. It knows on and off. You are either freezing to death, burning to death, or whatever. It just knows full blast. It doesn't really have much for thermostat to regulate itself. So last winter when I drove up here, and I left, it's before I had all this stuff in, I thought, okay, I'll just leave the truck running, lock the doors, and I'll turn on the heater back here. Well, I could not regulate it in a way to be comfortable. It was just hot as shit in here. And I kept finding I had to turn the truck on and off every couple hours or whatever so I could live. Which, by the way, we've hooked up the truck. We've wired this into the ignition system. I can flip this. Well, I have the battery disconnected. So I made a fool of myself. But anyway, I had it rigged up so this turns on the ignition and that does the start. But you have to have not the key in, but I have a battery disconnect system when I park it. And that has to be connected. Let me see what we're getting. We're up to 878 watts. Still nothing. That means you could run this whole thing off of like a 1,000-watt inverter. I saw 1,000-watt inverters at Costco for like $40. So, if you have a school bus, an ambulance, a camper, whatever it is, I highly recommend using the mini split if you have enough room to put one of those in. It's a much better situation than using rooftop air. And I generally talk about on my RV and bus channel as well, different ways to do things with buses. All right, we're finally over 1,000 watts. We're at 1.1 watts, so or we're at almost 1,200 watts, so or 1.1 kilowatts rather. So that means the compressor's running and everything's running at full blast. Still, not that much. I could easily run that microwave. I could vacuum in here. I could turn on a curling iron. It wouldn't matter. I have plenty of power. If I were going to do my bus again, like my Prevost tour bus that I had before, if I was refurbishing one of those, I would rip out all the rooftop airs. I would buy a multi-head mini split system where you have one condenser with 3 head units. I'd put that in the bus, and then I'd put in 2 of these systems. The reason I say 2 is if you've made it this far in the video because you're really interested in about how this works, you can only have 4 of those 200 amp batteries connected together in parallel or in series. 4 seems to be the magic number. They don't want you to have more than that in one bank. So if you needed to have more than that, what you should have is multiple sets of those with separate inverters. So for instance, in my other bus that I used to have, my Prevost, I had a 17,000 watt generator running those 3 air conditioners and everything else. And then I had 4 8D batteries, and then I had 2 3,000 watt inverters. So it pulled a lot of power. But if you got rid of those power-sucking rooftop airs that are loud and make all this noise and replaced them with these quiet, more efficient mini splits, ductless systems, and you had, let's say, 2 of these 3,000 watt inverters and a total of 8 batteries on 2 separate banks, not to mention the fact that with a 40-foot bus, 45-foot bus, you could put probably 5,000 watts of solar panel power on there. So you could, for about, let's say 10 grand, which I know is a lot of money, but you're talking about like a $100,000 bus minimum, you could make a completely electrically off-grid rig. There goes the lights. Let me turn it back on. That, like I told you, they're on a timer. You could make an electrically off-grid rig for 10 grand that'll sit in solar, that'll charge itself while it's driving down the road, charge itself in the sun, would run an air condition, and you'd have just power. And you wouldn't need to plug in. So you just have to go fill up your water and dump it once in a while. And depending on how thrifty you are with that, my other Prevost had a 150-gallon water tank and a 250-gallon diesel tank and a huge drop tank. So, like, when I was running a generator, I could get in that thing for up to 2 weeks and never step out. So, I've got about $25,000 into this rig so far after buying the truck, doing all the repairs, adding the hitch, doing all the different things we've done to it. And I don't think there's anything else you could put together for this kind of money that's this awesome. Okay, for those of you who want to know what I'm doing with this thing, we did this custom trailer. This is a 24-foot Pace American race trailer that I used to haul my cars from our shop here in Dallas, Texas, back to Vegas. I use it also to go buy cars, because I run a custom car shop. Like I said, I got to go to Mississippi tomorrow and pick up a car. Then I got to come back and go to San Antonio and pick up a car. So we had to custom build a hitch for this thing and all kinds of custom wiring because ambulances don't normally have all that stuff on here. We paint matched the trailer, the the actual paint that they use for the truck. It's like $600 a gallon. So we painted it, put the vinyl stickers on there, electronic tongue jack, welded a bulldog hitch on there, box, rewired the whole thing, just put tires on it. You know how much tires are now? These tires were 900 bucks. God. Put new fenders on. So this thing is super cool. Put the emergency chevrons on the back. So people just assume it's some kind of emergency vehicle, and that's fine. They don't need to know what's in there. So people stay out of my way. Now the reason I chose this particular rig, this is a 2010 Horton, which is built out of an International 4300 with a max force 466 DT diesel engine. It has a 60,000 pound towing capacity. So the truck itself weighs 15,000 pounds, can carry an additional 5,000 pounds payload in the truck itself. So I stopped on this last trip. I brought my Ford Excursion. I have a 4x4 Ford Excursion that I wanted to bring down here. I had it in here. That's almost an 8,000 pound truck. So I was right at 29,000 pounds, and this thing pulled fine. Had no problems whatsoever going up through the mountains. Went I-40 the whole way. And I mean, you're talking about an 8,000 pound truck and a 4,000 or 5,000 pound trailer. No problem whatsoever. That's why I bought that ambulance, because that's the same truck that's used for, you see beer trucks, Coke trucks, you know, delivery trucks. Just like, it's a nice, strong, medium duty with an automatic and all the features you need, and it was comfortable enough to drive with an air seat. Drive it 10 hours a day or more, 12 hours a day. And you know, you're just not going to do any better than that. If I had just bought the cab and bare chassis, there's no way I could have bought it for what I paid for that thing. Because ambulances, nobody wants an ambulance. What are you going to do with an ambulance? Right? It would have been worth more money if he took the box off and sold it as a cab and chassis so that like a tow truck company could put a Jerdan bed on it or something. But for me, it was perfect. So this rig right here is perfect for me. I'm rolling about 50 feet and typically about 25,000 pounds. And I can keep whatever I want in here, and nobody messes with this thing. Nobody messes with an ambulance or a fire truck, emergency vehicle. They don't come near it. Cops just wave at you. Nobody wants to go near this thing because they know it's, you know, hey, I don't want to mess with that thing. So, perfect stealth camping vehicle. People want to know if everything still works. I just did a video about this thing, how we tinted the windshield and the side windows. So it's nice and dark in here. Makes a lot of noise. Fire this thing up. Runs great. All the stuff still works on it. There you go. All the lights. That alarm's going to be on for a while until the air pressure builds up. But yeah, you know, everything still works in here. You know, all the lights run. I've got all these side and rear loading lights, flashers. Now, of course, I can't use any of that stuff while I'm going down the road. But let me turn this thing off. It's too much noise. It's got an electric auxiliary pump as well, and then I have a battery cutoff here. I've done lots of videos about this thing you can find on my channel if you're really interested in it. I cannot tell you how tempting it is to want to turn those lights on and split traffic like Moses parting the Red Sea. But you can't do it. You can't do it. But I do use these trumpets. These things are effing loud. People get up in the way and it's like a train horn. Those come in handy. Also, this has a central locking system. All of these cabinets, I got one remote click and every single thing on this truck locks instantaneously. That comes in really handy, especially when you're on the inside in the back. I can lock and unlock the thing. And I also have security cameras. You may have seen there are cameras all around this thing. I have cameras on that side, cameras on the back, cameras on the hitch, cameras at the back of the trailer. I could see all around this thing. So that comes in really handy too. So if you're really interested in this thing, check out some of the other videos here on this channel, and also Videobob's RV and Bus channel. Just search for that, and you can see some videos I've done about this truck, as well as some other camper trucks and my my Prevost bus as well, which I don't have anymore. It's gone. Anyway, sorry I haven't done an update lately. It is hot and miserable and muggy. I feel like I'm going to pass out. I've been living in Vegas for the last year and a half where it's 5% humidity. Yes, it's hot, but oh my God, this humidity. I don't know how I lived here my whole life. It's so humid. Ah.